Hello, hello. Hey, you guys. So here we are. Um, I'm coming to you today from Truro, Nova Scotia, and we've been on the road for, gosh, about a month. Coming up a month soon. Today I think it's the 14th. Yeah, really close to a month since we left, and we're going to do a reading today from the Tao Te Ching, but I love you to hang around for that, and just going to say what's been coming up over and over and over again in many different ways, but basically, you know, we get tired of running the show. I think that the awakening comes. I was just sitting with a friend, and he was saying, "Why is it that everybody can't get this? And why isn't it that everybody can't see how simple life really is?" And you know, I can't really answer that. I don't know why everybody can't get it, but I do know that for me, it seemed like it took years of searching and asking and praying and saying, what the hell is going on here? Why did my life seem like such a mess? So it took forever, but then it came. It was, and it didn't come from a teaching. It came from surrender, and I had to get really tired of trying to run the show, right? I had to get really tired of trying to run the show, and somehow I had this belief that I could kind of run my life, that I could orchestrate it, and 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 it didn't. There always seemed to be something missing. I always felt dissatisfied. I never felt quite complete, and but there I was, for most of my life trying to run the show, and trying to manipulate, to organize, to try to get what I thought I wanted or needed or deserved, and and uh, and so I experienced stress, and I experienced anger and fear and depression, and because I could never seem to make life work for me, and but over and over again, all the teachers had said the same thing, and I would say, yeah, but yeah, but and even in my 12-step program, it says, that I had to come to grips with the fact that my life was unmanageable by me. And somehow I thought that I could learn some new techniques to manage my life, and that I could, get better at it, so I spent a lot of time in what I'll call recovery, trying to get better at it, and finally I realized that I had to surrender. I had to fucking stop trying to run the show. Excuse my language. I did, and even the surrender was a kind of a process, because it had been really, it's been a 40-year process, but um, and I think others get it quicker, and it doesn't have to be that long. It doesn't have to be this terribly long process to let go of trying to run the show. But for me, it seemed to be deeply ingrained. Maybe maybe trauma had kind of fused it in there, and that I somehow could not rely on life, that I couldn't rely on universal intelligence, God, to whatever it is that you want to call this amazing thing that we live in. I love in the big book, in the 12-step world, Bill says God either is or he isn't. Either he's everything or he's nothing. And so if he's everything, then we're in it, and I can just surrender to this flow and be in this flow. I don't have to learn doctrine. I don't have to, um, have certain practices. Although meditating in the morning, bringing myself into the moment more consciously, I think is helpful. But I can just surrender. Boom. We were just talking, John and I, and I'm going to introduce him to a book that I loved by, who was it? Michael Singer had this great book called The Surrender Experiment. And so I've just downloading it. I'm going to send him a copy of it, The Surrender Experiment. And in that book, Michael talks about the process. And it's funny how many books I had to read to get it, to say, okay, I have to, this is it. How do I do this? How do I surrender? And I came to, over the years of realizing that my thinking couldn't be trusted. That I wasn't my thoughts. My thoughts came out of my conditioning. And it just was a process for me, William James, in his book, A Variety of Religious Experience, talks about it, and he calls it the educational variety, awakening the educational variety. And many people have had these white light experiences, like the story of Paul in the Bible, where he had this, experience on the road, and where he awakened. But for me, it's been an educational. It's like over a period of time and asking, over and over again to be shown, to see the bigger picture. So my life purpose then became really obvious, and my life purpose is to carry this message. It's, because around me I see so many people struggling, and they're covering their struggle, they're medicating. We're often medicating with food, or we medicate with drugs, or we medicate with gambling, or we medicate with, work or sex, or because we don't want to be in the pain of not getting what we want. In a way, the whole process is just about growing up. We grow up into this realization. Maslow talks about self-realization, self-actualization. We finally see that we, we're not who we thought we were. We're not that at all. We're so much more. We are one with all of this. So that's my message today, and it's the message of many teachers. So I'm going to read today from this little book I've been reading from for a while. I love this little book, the Tao Te Ching, from Stephen Mitchell, and I think we're on 48. I think is the chapter. Is very short. So we're just going to read this to you, and get this book. It's amazing, and because there's every one of these little chapters, which are only one page or half a page, is just an awakening. So it says, in the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped. So surrender, letting go. And, the Tao being this that we're talking about, this awakening. Less and less do we need to force things, until finally you arrive at non-action. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. True mastery, it says, can be gained by letting things go their own way. It cannot be gained by interfering. So again, we surrender. It's a beautiful writing. It can't be gained by interfering. It's beautiful. I was listening to Mooji this morning. I really love Mooji's. He says it so well, and I enjoy listening to his videos on YouTube. And I was listening to Mooji, and he said that he hadn't made a decision since '94. So what happens is we're in the flow. We don't make decisions. It just flows. It just comes. It's obvious in each moment. We learn to pause and to just be with what is in each moment. Nothing's missing, right? Nothing's needed, and we're not, full of wanting and desire, because we're just in this amazing flow. So I encourage you to stick with us. Love you. What was I going to say? YouTube. I have a channel on YouTube, and I'm just, inviting people to go to YouTube and subscribe and be part of this journey. One of the great things that's happened on this trip is, it's been a real awakening trip for me, and it's the realization that this is my path, to carry this message over and over and over again. And often I work with with people in recovery, and because people in recovery, when we're it, alcoholics and addicts, people that are realize that they really need to shift, are more willing to, we're kind of, Jesus had said only drowning men can see us, so the desperation of drowning men when things are really blown apart. So I really enjoy working with addicts and alcoholics, and of course I'm in recovery as well. So I came from there, and yeah. So that's my next. It seems like that's my path, and I'm on it. So I love you guys, and if you have any questions, or if you want to talk about personally, want to talk about recovery or awakening or anything, get in touch with me. And I'm, this is my full-time thing. I'm available 24/7 to talk with you about whatever is happening in your life. Okay, love you so much. Cheers.